All right, diving into a Victorian scandal today, a story of, well, arsenic and intrigue. It's the case of Madeline Smith. We're sifting through excerpts from her Wikipedia page, and wow, it's a story and a half. But we're going beyond just the headlines, right? We're going to really dig into what this tells us about life in Victorian Scotland. The strict social rules, the whispers that followed a not-proven verdict, all of it.
And those whispers, they're still going strong even now. I think that's what's so gripping about this case. It exposes that clash between how things look and what people really want, especially women like Madeline. They had to navigate a society that really boxed in their choices, didn't it?
Absolutely. So, okay, picture this. 1850s Glasgow. We've got Madeline Smith, our lady in the spotlight here. She's living a life privilege, right? Prominent family, huge house. We're talking Blackswood Square, even a country estate to top it off. It's the kind of life a lot of people would envy, but, well, things aren't always what they seem, are they?
Not at all. And this is where things take a turn. See, Madeline's family, they're set on seeing him marry well, and of course, that means someone from their own social circle. But Madeline, well, she's got other plans. She falls head over heels for a man who turns their world upside down, Pierre Emile L'Angelier.
Classic forbidden love, Victorian style. L'Angelier wasn't exactly, how do I put this, suitable by her family standards. I mean, he was older, for one. And not just that, he was a working-class man, worlds away from the wealth and status Madeline was used to. So, naturally, their relationship, it all unfolds in secret, hidden from the eyes of Glasgow society.
A secret affair, and a passionate, tumultuous one at that. They lived for stolen moments, hidden rendezvous, and then there were the letters. Oh, those letters they wrote each other.
The infamous letters, right?
Exactly. These were no ordinary love letters. They were full of longing, desire, a level of intimacy that would have been utterly scandalous if they'd ever become public.
Talk about playing with fire. And then, as if things couldn't get more complicated, Madeline's parents, who were still totally oblivious to this whole secret romance, by the way they introduced her to William Minnicay, a suitor deemed much more appropriate, at least by their standards, for a young woman of her standing.
And the pressure on Madeline, it just keeps building. She's caught, really caught, between what society expects, this developing relationship with Minnock, and this burning desire to break free from L'Angelier. And breaking free from him was harder than it seemed. He had those letters, those incriminating letters, and he refused to give them up.
So let's see. We've got a love triangle, a pressure cooker of social expectations. It's a recipe for disaster, isn't it? And just when you think things can't get any more dramatic,
L'Angelier dies, suddenly. And the cause of death? Arsenic poisoning.
Arsenic poisoning. Wow, okay. So we've got the secret affair, tragic death, whispers of poison. It's no wonder this whole thing exploded in the press, right?
Yeah.
Captured everyone's attention in Victorian Scotland and beyond, I bet.
Oh, yeah. The trial, it was a spectacle. Newspapers ate it up, every little detail, every rumor. You had Madeline painted as a cold-hearted black widow by some, and a tragic victim by others. It was like this public dissection, of Victorian morals and what happens when you defy those social rules.
And the center of it all, these letters, they were passionate, incriminating, and really, really dangerous for Madeline. Prosecution must have thought they were holding all the cards.
Yeah, and you know what? They had a strong case. They really did. Madeline, she had bought arsenic, and it was easy to get a hold of back then. And then L'Angelier did, not long after. But the defense, they were ready. They had a different story to tell.
So it was the classic whodunit. Prosecution says one thing, defense another.
Yeah.
What did they use to back up their side?
Their argument was that L'Angelier, heartbroken over the relationship ending, facing ruin, he took his own life. They pointed out that suicide, especially for men in the middle of scandals, well, it was tragically common in those times.
That's a good point. But what about the arsenic and those letters? Yeah. That had to hurt Madeline's case, right?
You'd think so, wouldn't you? But here's the thing, those letters, they weren't exactly neatly tied up, with a confession note attached. Lots of them were found with L'Angelier, but without their envelopes. So it was hard to say for sure when they were written, when they were sent.
So the timeline gets all muddy. That's got to be good for the defense.
Oh, it was a big detail, introduced a real element of doubt. The prosecution couldn't say for sure that Madeline sent arsenic to L'Angelier just before he died. And that little bit of uncertainty, it made all the difference. It's what made the jury's decision so interesting.
Okay, so the jury's heard both sides, seen the evidence. Must have been tense, like a London fog, right? What's the verdict?
After 2 hours, they came back with a verdict that surprised a lot of people. Not guilty on one count, but on the second. Not proven.
Not proven. Huh. That's a weird one, isn't it? Not innocent, not guilty. It's like, It just leaves things hanging.
It does. That's the whole point of not proven. this fascinating quirk in Scottish law. It's basically saying, look, we've got our doubts, but we don't have enough to nail it down.
So she walks free.
But with that shadow hanging over her.
Exactly. I can't imagine the weight of that, especially back then. Reputation was everything in Victorian society. So what happened to Madeline after all of that? Did she lay low or try to rebuild her life?
Well, the scandal, it was too much. For her family, they ended up leaving Glasgow, finding a quieter life over in Bridge of Allen. Talk about consequences, even without a guilty verdict, huh?
Forced out, basically. Makes you wonder if not proven was a blessing or a curse. Freed from prison, but stuck with all those unanswered questions.
Yeah.
Did she ever find peace after that? Or even love?
She did, actually. A few years down the line, she marries an artist, George Wardle. Starts a family, even gets involved in social reform, the Fabian Society.
The Fabian Society, weren't they all about gradual social change? Seems like a world away from, arsenic and scandal.
Yeah, it does. Makes you think she wanted to reinvent herself, shake off that story that had become so attached to her. Their marriage ended eventually, but later on, she moves to New York City, gets married again, fresh start across the ocean.
That's quite a turn. From a huge scandal in Scotland to a new life in New York.
Yeah.
But I gotta think, that question, did she do it? It must have followed her.
It's followed the case ever since, hasn't it? That lack of a real answer, that not proven, just hanging there. It keeps people guessing, did she or didn't she? It's still a mystery.
And that's Madeline Smith's legacy, I guess. This cautionary tale about forbidden love, the pressure of society, and a legal system that, even when it doesn't say guilty, it can still leave its mark. We might never know for sure what happened, but getting these glimpses into her life, the scandal, that verdict,
Yeah.
it's a fascinating look into Victorian society and, well, the power of a good mystery.